It's the Score North Twin Show. Baseball!
Okay, unexpected Friday breaking news here as we welcome our guy Darren Doogie Wolfson into the Score North Twin Show, where it's funny, we're actually, and we may still do this with Doogie, we're going to do a flagrant howls with you today, talking about the Giannis rumors and reports, but the Twins dropped a bombshell this morning. I'm just going to read you the press release, and then we can figure out, and the parties are going to speak throughout the morning, but we wanted to jump on here and give you the latest information and react to some of it. But the Minnesota Twins announced today that the club and former president of baseball and business operations, Derek Falvey, have mutually agreed to part ways. Executive Vice President and General Manager Jeremy Zoll will continue leading the Twins baseball department. Executive Chair Tom Pohlad will assume interim oversight over the club's baseball operations. Statement from Tom Pohlad. Over the past several weeks, Derek and I had thoughtful and candid conversations about leadership, structure, and the future of the club. We reached a shared understanding that the needs of the organization are evolving and that a leadership transition is the best way to move forward. I want to thank Derek for everything he's contributed to this organization. When he joined the Twins 9 years ago, it was in many ways a watershed moment for this franchise. His leadership was transformational. He helped modernize every aspect of our baseball ops and led with strong values, intention, and purpose. Derek created a culture grounded in learning and in the belief that organizations grow when people grow. Under his leadership, the Twins captured 3 division titles, made 4 postseason appearances. We are grateful for his dedication, his integrity, and his impact here. And then there's a couple more I'll give you the Derek Falvey quote, and then we can react here. Falvey, part of the quote is, following a series of thoughtful conversations with Tom that began after the ownership transition and progressed over the past few weeks, we both agreed this was the right time for us to part ways. Ownership transitions naturally create moments for reflection and honest dialogue about leadership, vision, and how an organization wants to move forward. Over the past several weeks, we've had those conversations openly and constructively and ultimately reached a shared understanding that this was the right step both for the organization and for me personally. So with that, boys, Derek Falvey out as not only head of baseball ops, head of everything, business ops. He was one of the most powerful in terms of oversight and jurisdiction executives in all of baseball, just underneath ownership. What are your initial gut thoughts on this?
Go ahead, Judd. I know you're fired up.
Well, my initial thought is this is a great move. It's a great day. I've been saying since last season that I thought Derek had bitten off way too much. I thought him being in charge of business operations was absolutely ridiculous. I thought that, and it turned out to be true. And if you think that this is a big move, you're right. But let me just stop us all for a second and say, the family fired Joe Pohlad. Now, Joe Pohlad's name is Pohlad for a reason. He's a brother. He's a part of the family, and they literally fired him. He didn't want to leave. By all accounts, Joe was like, well, what do I get to do? And they said, why don't you go do something else? Because you ain't doing this anymore. So before we think, well, Derek Falvey got fired or he walked away, this is huge. They fired a member of their family. And by the way, they were exactly right to do that. My guess, not knowing a thing yet, but let's just start to put things together. But by the way, I don't think these conference calls are going to shed the light of, oh, here's exactly what we did. So I think behind the scenes, part of this is based on the fact that Derek had no business being in charge of business ops. Joe didn't know what he was in charge of and he didn't really know if he was coming and going, which is what they finally decided was the problem there. My guess is Tom Pohlad said, dude, you're not really fit to handle both of these jobs. Derek probably bristled. I also think that there's definitely some baseball things, probably some communications things, probably some things that got blamed on Rocco Baldelli that were really on Falvey's plate. Dukes, we've been told that Tom Pohlad is, and he certainly seems articulate, we've been told that Tom Pohlad is the smartest of that portion, that tree of the Pohlad family, right? Well, it doesn't take a genius to walk in and be be like, we gave this guy more power. So my guess is that there was a falling out because Tom Pohlad, rightfully so, as he's going to now, is going to take control of Eureka Business Operations. So I don't think this is just a baseball thing. I think baseball plays a definite role, but I think this is probably more of a, as Phil said, there was no reason that Derek Falvey was one of the most powerful people in baseball, and to treat him like Theo Epstein, who deserved that, was an affront to the entire organization, and now it's over.
Which is fine to say. I mean, we did one of these the day the news came out that Falvey would be elevated to taking over the dual roles. We all said, like, Thad Levine was the guy for that job, not Derek Falvey. By the way, Thad Levine's still residing here in town. Yeah, he took a job with the Brewers. The Twins need to hire a president of baseball operations. My first phone call is to Thad Levine. You mentioned conference calls. Yeah, Tom Pohlad at 11:15 Central doing a Zoom. Derek Falvey will also do a Zoom at 11:45. I'm with you. I don't know how much news will come about from that, but still interesting that Falvey is choosing to speak with us. I've texted with a few people. So I get the email. You guys probably got it too at about 9:46, 9:45 a.m. So about 35-ish minutes ago. Texted with somebody in the front office. WTF. That was my text to this individual. His text back to me, could not agree more. Texted somebody high up on the business side. WTF. His text back to me, you know more than I do. So this is a bit of a bombshell. I was at Target Field last Friday for a media luncheon. Had a great back and forth with Tom Pohlad. I'm telling you, I was thoroughly impressed. That was my first time to go back and forth with him one-on-one, face-to-face. I came across thoroughly impressed. Also had a lengthy conversation with Derek Falvey, both on camera and off camera. I am telling you, there's not a whole lot that shocks me in the sports world. This one shocks me. Just based on my interaction with Derek 1 week ago, literally 1 week ago today, I did not. And trust me, I'm a skeptic by nature. Journalism 101. Why is this person lying to me? I'm always thinking along those lines. Nothing hit me in the moment of being at Target Field for that luncheon last Friday that we would be sitting here 1 week later talking about Derek Falvey being out. So it's very fascinating to me. I'm with you, Judd. I don't know how much we'll glean from these 11:15, 11:45 Zoom calls, but still interesting to me that Derek is choosing. I get Tom, but also that Derek is choosing to do this. By the way, Tom, if I have this right, so Tom doing a media session today, held court last Friday, certainly did some stuff when the transition was publicly announced in December. Like in the course of about 6 weeks, Tom Pohlad has done more media than Joe Pohlad did in about 2.5 years.
Yeah, and at a higher level, I would say. I mean, not that bar was high with Joe, but yeah, it shouldn't be shocking, but because of the way the Twins methodically go about their leadership structure, it is shocking in that regard. And you mentioned that Derek Falvey is going to be up there and speaking and fielding questions later on today. They did the same. Now, Terry Ryan stepped down. It was kind of framed more that way. There was some pressure to make some big changes, and Terry essentially fell on the sword. But in that case, the last time they made a change like this, almost a decade ago, Terry did the same thing. He spoke and took questions for 35, 40, 45 minutes. And so they've always been an organization that tries to do the soft landing, and they don't love throwing people under the bus. They sometimes try to find other roles within the organization. And I'm not saying this is entirely Derek Falvey's fault, because everything starts with ownership and the messaging and the actions. The last 2 years of Twins baseball, from an on-field standpoint, from a brand standpoint, from a revenue standpoint, fan goodwill, everything is one of the most incredible drop-offs in Minnesota sports history. You guys we were all at those fans, you guys who are hanging out here right now on this live Score on Twin show. The vibes that you felt inside Target Field in the fall of 2023, 2.5 years ago, when they were clinching that series against Toronto, even when they were losing against the Astros, that place was packed. People were back in loving Twins baseball, and they bungled almost every possible thing from the top all the way down to the field staff over a 2.5-year period. And I'll tell you, I mean, we'll see what happens now with Tom Pohlad leading the charge and the new minority ownership groups and just the way that baseball needs to fix some of their business structure. But if you were looking for change, Dukes, if you were looking for change in Judd over the past 6 months, who's going to be held accountable for this disaster of 2 years? The family booted Joe Pohlad from running the operation. This is being framed as a mutual parting of ways, but part of that can be interpreted as, on the mutual front, the Twins didn't want Derek Falvey to be running either the business and or baseball ops side, and so the Twins were pushing to some extent. I think Thad Levine's more of a solution to the problem, but they didn't renew Thad Levine's contract a couple years ago. They fired the manager and a bunch of the assistants. I mean, it wasn't all at once. It wasn't like one fell swoop. All these people are gone, but this is one of the biggest house cleanings in the history of Minnesota sports over the past 6 months as well.
All right, well, let's speculate then. Why exactly did this happen today? Something sticks out that Tom told me last Friday. He remains irked to this day, Phil. You reference fall of 23, all the excitement, win a playoff series for the first time in 21 years, break that lengthy playoff losing streak, all the excitement here in town, October of 23. We now fast forward 2.5 years. It's literally all gone. Tom told me how they bleeped up. They messed up not investing in the roster that winter. Now, I'm still not convinced to this day, knowing Sonny Gray's representation, knowing enough about that situation, that Sonny Gray was willing to put pen to paper to re-sign with the Twins. I think he was always looking to exit. Now, we could have a different conversation if you thought giving Sonny Gray a 4-year, $100 million contract, something asinine. All right, maybe he does then sign, but like realistically speaking, Sonny Gray was never coming back. But then go get somebody else. I don't have all the names in front of me, but you go get somebody else. Money speaks loudest oftentimes. Go sign someone else. Tom is still irked to this day that they did not invest in the club that winter 23, January 24, heading into the 24 season. Plus, he told me he thinks this team can contend. He thinks, yeah, some things absolutely have to break right. But he believes this roster can make the playoffs this year. I wonder, Judd, deep down, did Derek tell Tom, we're not making the playoffs? Yeah, of the 3 divisions in the American League, yeah, maybe we have the easiest path. I just think winning the Central is easier than winning the East or West, although we could have that debate. But I just wonder deep down if Derek said to Tom, hey, like, we need to strip this thing down a little bit more. Hey, I'm open-minded to trading Joe Ryan. I'm open-minded to trading Pablo Lopez. Hey, at that point, Buck will waive his no trade. We'll move Buck as well. Let's strip this thing down completely. I'm just wondering those things. Call it reckless speculation. We just found out this news 45 minutes ago. But I'm just wondering if Derek had a heart-to-heart with Tom and said, we're not competing anytime soon.
You know, that's very possible. That's very possible. It's also possible that you're spot on correct, but that's one of, let's say, 5 things as well. Like I keep going back to well, first of all, fair or not, the Twins have basically now purged the franchise of all of the people who are seen as being the face of the debacle, right? Derek Falvey, or what? Heck, Joe Pohlad. Yeah. Derek Falvey, Rocco Baldelli. I mean, Jeremy Zoll stays for now, but Jeremy Zoll's just a bit player. So I could see that. I could also see from the business end, like if you look at the business of this team, which, you know, Derek Falvey was in charge of, I think you got a lot of question marks. It's not well run. And I think also, and I've seen some comments here and I don't disagree. Don't forget too, there's another storyline that we're not used to. Minority owners now involved, sniffing around, probably saying, we want our investment back. What are you people doing here? And I could see that as well. So I think because the timing, Your point's a good point, but I would have thought the timing of that would have been a couple months ago that Derek laid out a blueprint or a plan for, hey, we're not really going to compete. And if Tom's like, that's a bunch of BS, that gets done. But if it was an accumulation of things, and make no mistake, the minority investors, while we're not going to hear from them, they are largely nameless and faceless, are going to have a say. And if they're like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, like from a business standpoint, I think if you're a good, astute business person, you walked into Target Field and probably said, who's in charge of this? And they're like, well, Falvey is. And you're like, okay, but he's in charge of baseball too? Yeah. It's like, nothing's being run well. Yeah.
Dude, so I mean, those joint roles are literally reserved. They should be reserved across sports for the godfathers of their profession. If you are Theo Epstein, if you are Dave Dombrowski, if you are Greg Popovich, and you have proven to be a builder of championship teams and infrastructure, and you can kind of elevate after 2 decades, or in the case of Theo, it was like 8 years, like, okay, we know this guy's a stud. And you can handle all of that, and you view it all through like Neo in the Matrix. Okay. For them to, and this is where it's like, I go back to the pull-outs. For them to put him in that position is kind of unfair to Falvey, and it felt like a major cost-cutting move. I mean, they literally let Dave St. Peter and Thad Levine either retire or walk out the door, and didn't replace those headcounts. And so it reeked to me of, and by the way, Declan tried to take a little day off here on a Friday, and like every time old Dex tries to take a day off.
You're on a beat. You should know about Friday News Dump. Come on.
Well, and I just texted him too. Welcome to being on a beat and saying, I'll take a day off. Like, you triggered this, you SOB.
I was texting you guys earlier this morning at like 4 a.m. My son has his first fever, and I'm giving him his first Tylenol. I'm like, am I going to the pediatric emergency room this morning? And then I was like, okay, he's all good now. And I was like, you know what? I'm still going to go hit the golf simulators. I'll shoot, 125. And then I'm 5 minutes into like my third swing, and I get 7 text messages. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? And I thought, oh man, they actually did this. They fired him. So yeah, pretty crazy, man. Pretty crazy. This is the life of it, I guess.
So, and by the way, Reusse is going to join in like probably 6 or 7 minutes here too, live on the Score North Twin Show YouTube channel. If you're new and you're just discovering this, Declan is the spearheader of this podcast for us, and you can click that subscribe button, the like button on this channel, and we'll keep you posted too as more comes in. But Dex, just your I mean, we were just talking before you jumped on. It didn't all happen in one fell swoop, but after probably the worst 2-year downfall in the history of Twins baseball, when you add up the last 6 months, who are you going to hold accountable? Well, the family came in above Joe Polad, and they removed Joe.
Yep.
They fired the manager and most of the coaching staff. And now it's framed as a mutual parting of ways. But now Derek, so you literally fired the owner, or the controlling face of ownership, the head of both business and baseball ops, and the manager and the field staff over the past several months.
Yeah, I mean, my initial takeaway is, and I know Doogie, you said same thing. I'm going to hop on that Zoom call too with Tom, and Derek Falvey's supposed to speak in about an hour or two for both those. But Tom Pollad's running a different ship here. Like, I know that we're all confused on the timing of a lot of things, especially obviously what's happening today. But Tom Pollad's running a different ship here than his predecessors. That's my just initial gut takeaway here. And you can be, obviously confused at the timing of how Tom took so long to get in charge here. And, they are around when Derek Shelton is hired, and Falvey just spoke a week ago and had mostly glowing and optimistic things. I didn't think of anything of his job security of, this time 1 week ago. But I do think Tom Pollad is running a completely different ship. And whether this works out for him, we'll see. But it is crazy timing that this team is reporting to spring training in literally 2 weeks. And now they fire their president of baseball operations, and their team president, by the way, too, obviously, because that's his actual title. But pretty shocking. But I think my initial takeaway is Tom Pollad's running a different show here.
Yeah. Dukes, chime in here, because we'll keep you for a few more minutes, and then we'll swap you out for Reusse, and then we'll probably see you on a Flagrant Howls also to be posted. But just any current final thoughts until we get more information from the powers that be.
Well, just now that Declan's a part of the conversation, Declan, I mean, I reached out to a front office official. WTF was my text. his text back was, couldn't agree more. So clearly, there's a bombshell element to this inside Target Field. I just go back to, I don't remember the exact date, but when they announced that Falvey was going to have the dual roles, just logically speaking, we said it at the time, how freaking stupid that was. Like, it didn't make any sense. Why would you give Derek Falvey all that power? He literally was the most powerful person in a major league organization, outside of clearly ownership, right? But it just didn't make sense. But I just know there's a lot of surprised people right now over at Target Field.
Yeah. Patrick Reusse, welcome to the Friday News Dump Party here on the Score North Twin Show.
Yeah, it was. Well, I will tell you that when I got a note at 9:30 this morning or 9:15 that they were having a Zoom call, I said Falvey's leaving. I didn't know if he was fired, but I said Falvey's leaving. Says Doogie, you were at that thing that Friday. There was, first of all, we had when they dumped everybody. He made it. He told some people, listen, they told me to do this. I had to do this. And then, of course, when he fired Rocco, Doogie, you were there, and he said collaborative about 23 times to make sure we knew it wasn't him. And then there was, and I'm, unfortunately, I'm old and senile and can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something that Friday, which you said, he said something about they made this, and it was something that should have been his decision. And he said, when they made this decision, and I'm not saying, I thought, oh man, he's leaving, but I thought there's something going on here because he's not taking ownership of something you thought he would take ownership of. So I don't know. I think it's been in the offing since they dumped everybody at the end of July. So
yeah,
anyway.
I mean, it is. It's kind of for people that wanted accountability over the last 6 months. It's about as many people as you can let go of in a 6-month period. So,
but the fellow that is now in charge of baseball would tie. Who would he tie for personality? He'd I'm trying to think of who he might tie for personality.
David Kahn?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh,
No,
ouch.
Kahn had a
Oh.
great personality. He was just an idiot.
Yeah, Jeremy's not an idiot. No, definitely not an idiot.
No, Jeremy, he just doesn't. He's not an outgoing guy. He's just a baseball nerd that does all this stuff, and all of a sudden, he's now going to have to be answering all the questions. It'll be interesting because at that press
Quasi?
conference,
Is there a Quasi comp there?
What?
Quasi?
Quasi Adolfo Mensa? Is there a Quasi comp?
Well, Quasi, I don't know what kind of guy he is because he had that first interview and he didn't like it. And he hadn't talked since, basically. So. I wouldn't say he's that kind of comp. He's a baseball nerd though, and now all of a sudden he's going to be the guy having to try to answer all the questions. So, what do you think though? I mean, what's your shot, Doogie?
Judd?
You talked to more people over there, Judd. Where are they going? They're going to get more of a strictly a business guy back again.
I wonder also if since it's going to be his entire job for the time being, if Tom is going to become the president on the business side for now. The baseball thing, I think, is more intriguing.
Today, didn't they? That
yes,
he's gonna, he might keep it. I don't
Hey,
know.
but Patrick, what's your best guess since you sensed that it might be Derek departing? What's your best guess about if there was a final trigger here? Because the timing is weird. Like, it's not weird he's gone, in my opinion, but spring training's about to start. Ideally, this move is made in November or December. Do you have any sense of what might have triggered, been the last straw?
No, I don't.
Yes?
I really don't. It was just a vibe that, it's since the Baldelli press conference, I've been wondering, about, because as I said, that he wanted to make sure everybody knew it wasn't him all alone making the decision, and it was interesting. And you know what? That Friday, that I talked to him over there for 10 minutes off to the side. He was loose as a goose. I wonder if he knew this was happening. I wonder if he knew that this was happening, and he was like relaxed and saying anything he wanted to. And he knows he'll get a job, maybe not one this good, but he'll get a job somewhere. Plus, I'm sure he signed some kind of a contract, so he has to be getting a nice buyout, right? So.
Oh, I'm sure, right? I mean, it's not like, yeah, maybe it's framed as sort of a firing, but yeah, I mean, he's going to get a nice severance, right? I mean, they'll pay him off. I'm with you, Patrick. I spoke with him for about 8-9 minutes on camera last Friday, then about 15 minutes off camera. It was as loosey-goosey as he's ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, he was telling me, he's like, Ken Rosenthal throws out that we're in on Peralta. He goes, we were in on Mackenzie Gore. Like, he was open to me on that. But he's like, it never got to the point of us like exchanging prospect ideas. Like, things didn't like get off the ground. But he's like, that's literally our job, is to figure out, okay, what's the price point on these certain players? So we're constantly reaching out to teams. But he was very open because I didn't even bring it up. He's like, yeah, we were in on Mackenzie Gore.
Yeah,
I go, okay.
They were only short.
I've never seen Derek that loose as he was last Friday.
They were probably only short about 150 million on Mackenzie Gore in the long run.
Yeah, oh yeah. No, it never came remotely close to happening. It speaks to he was very free last Friday. So maybe he did know last Friday.
I think he probably did. So
Keep in mind too, Tom flew out and met with Byron in Georgia. He flew out to California, met with Joe Ryan. He met with Pablo Lopez in a suite right next to that luncheon, right after things were kind of concluding on Friday. So Tom has been doing like this audit of key players to figure out, what is working, what's not working in here. And again, I don't know the exact, I don't think you can say A, B, C equals Falvey's firing, but it is kind of, I think, ironic that Tom has taken all this time to go meet with figureheads on the Twins. And now all of a sudden the president of baseball operations is also out too.
that was actually my other thought today. I said either Falvey or they traded Buxton because they wanted to go to Atlanta. Those were my two thoughts when I got the notice that something was going on, and they were I don't know. This is how often do we shake up this franchise, boys? Not that often, right? Terry Ryan was 15.
Not like this.
Yeah, 2015 was Terry, right? And
Yeah.
and basically from 84 to 2015, it was the same collection of guys running the thing. So, and then before that, so the Twins I wouldn't want to say they're stable because they've been up and down and all around, but as far as employees at the top of the baseball operation, they've been pretty damn stable. So.
I think this move is going to catch the baseball world, like executives and stuff, by surprise, and they'll be shocked. I think this is going to resonate as a big positive with fans now, though. And Pat, I said before you joined too, like, we shouldn't be surprised. They fired the owner. Like when you go to the guy who's running the team and say you're gone, and he's like, I don't want to be gone, and they're like, we don't care, you're gone. Like, if you do that, you are, the firing of the president should not come as a big a shock as I think the baseball world is going to express today.
Especially when the guy you fired was a family member.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
Yeah.
Joe. I mean, Joe is now gone from running the baseball to having his big brother run the baseball and his little brother run the rest of the company. And I don't know. I've been saying they're going to buy Joe a station in Little Falls or some damn thing. I don't know what he's
back to radio. Yeah.
I don't know what's happening to Joe, but
It'll shut down quickly.
But I think that I was looking at a Twins thing on with comments on it on the Strib or someplace. I'm not sure, and it had nothing to do with the topic, but it was just like 22 remarks and 17 of them were shots at the pole ads. It's just that.
Yeah.
It's just routine shots at the pole ads for.
I mean, Pat, to that point, like from a brand perspective, and I know it's kind of a corny way to think about it, but But they are an entertainment brand, and they need people to love their product and spend money on their product, and for them to get to a point where literally anything they post on social media, they posted like, oh, there's a full moon over Target Field. Look at the
Yes,
beautiful.
right. Look at it, beautiful. Yeah.
Bleep you, fire Falvey. I don't know how you come back from that. There's two ways to come back from when your brand is that toxic. The first way would be just get back to winning at a really high level, and then people will come back. But it feels like they're not ready to do that yet. And the other way is to get rid of the people that are overseeing the brand and the operation, and hope that results in some goodwill with the fan base, I guess.
Did you see that Brother Chris had a essay in the Star Tribune on immigrants and pro anti-ICE, very and the Pohlads have been a long time DFLers and have had that vibe for rich, which is very unusual for rich people, and but they obviously didn't want Tom to sign that one, so they had Chris sign the letter that was in a couple of days ago, I think, or maybe yesterday in the I think the Star Tribune, but I read it online somewhere. So
Yeah,
I missed that. I'm still fascinated just by the timing of all this, because I'm with you, Patrick. I mean, we did get the vibe, many months ago or whatever it was, 2.5 months ago, that maybe this wasn't just Falvey's decision to fire Rocco, but like, what happened in the last few weeks? Why was Derek even a part of the conversation last Friday? Like, I have all sorts of questions. The timing of this is just fascinating to me.
Well, it's still close to spring training and the start, but I think it's it's just tension that probably just that I wonder if they have somebody in mind. You know who I'm rooting for?
Thad Levine, I hope.
Thad Levine.
He did.
Yeah.
He just took a job.
The quotes are big, great.
Yeah, with the Brewers, but he's in town. Yeah, they didn't move. He's here in town.
He's in Thad Levine, and sharp guy, and
Yes.
you don't have to have him making Falvey type personnel decisions. He can be the team president. He's a sharp guy, good quotes, funny guy. So, but I don't know. When he left, that had to be Falvey's decision, right?
I had, you know what? I'm gonna.
Yeah, well, let's just say Falvey had a lot to do with it, is my sense.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something that I had heard reliably.
Because by then, we were in about year 2 from going from Falvey Levine to Levine not getting any mentions when any things were done.
Correct.
So
Yes.
there had been a falling out there.
I want to throw something out. I had heard
Right.
going
What,
back a few months. Can you guys hear me, by the way? Is my mic working?
Yeah, I got you, Phil. Absolutely.
I can hear you.
Pat, can you hear me?
Oh, Phil, I can't get you. All of a sudden, I can't hear Phil.
Okay.
I can hear you other guys, but
That's okay. I'll give it. I'll dish it.
what's
I'll
he
dish it
telling
later.
me? I can
I'll
hear
dish
you
it later.
two
Go
guys.
ahead.
I
Judd, go
think
ahead.
Phil was going to say something about
There he is.
the relationship between Derek and Thad.
Yeah. Can you hear me,
Yes.
Pat? Can you hear
Nope.
me?
I
Nope.
agree with you, Phil, even though I can't understand you.
No, he can't
Okay.
hear you.
Okay,
He
that's
can't
okay.
hear.
I'll dish
He
it.
can't hear
I'll
you.
dish it after. Let's get a couple more thoughts from Pat, Judd, and then
Yeah.
I'll give it after Pat's gone.
Yeah. So Pat, where do you think it goes from here now, and how much do you also think, because the one thing that we've got comments about, and I don't disagree, is that there are now investors as well. Like this is Tom Pohlad, but it's not just the Pohlads. How much do you think that this is also people starting to look at the books, look at what's been going on, and say, we're investors now, we want some say in this whole thing?
I really would have no idea on that, and I don't think they would have had anything to do with getting rid of Falvey. But I do think that what they were going to have running baseball is going to be more of a business person than a baseball. I think it's going to be a dollars and cents guy, and not a baseball guy that's going to be the team president. I think it's some trusted Pohlad, but I think you guys are also right. It might be Tom Pohlad for a year or so but that's a tough job for him because he's trying to learn the game. At the same time, he has nobody really to teach it to him. I guess maybe you could say that St. Pete's gonna come back and spend more time there, with Tom. I'm not sure what Dave, I don't know what St. Pete's relationship is with Tom Pohlad and the Pohlad.
I think it's pretty good. I could foresee that. Yeah, I could absolutely.
Maybe he's gonna
That scenario,
disappear.
Dave having a little bit more say now, Dave coming back. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely could see that. I mean,
Why
that
do
would not
we
surprise
think
me
Dave
whatsoever.
left? Why do we think Dave left?
Well, my guess is I mean, I've known Dave a long time. He's a very smart guy. I mean, he might have seen the writing on the wall. like if you look at his timing and what transpired after that, that's a pretty good time to bail. So like he might have seen it, and I mean that was also Joe. I
Yes.
wouldn't have wanted to work for Joe.
No, I think
So-
that you hit the point. Is that I think that it's a lot easier to come back and be the right hand man to Tom Pohlad than it would have
Yeah.
been because he's obviously the smarter Pohlad when you listen to him and watch him in action, and more confident too, more sure of himself.
Yeah,
So,
he can. Yeah.
I mean,
Boys, thanks
What
much, Dukes.
Yeah,
we'll
would
get
it
back
also
to you.
quickly? Would it also make
Yeah.
sense to bring in somebody to run the business side of things after the new CBA is figured out? However long this
Yeah, that's
work
possible.
stoppage is going to be, in all likelihood, starting December 1st, the sport is going to shut down for some length of time. Would it make some sense to see what the fallout is from the new CBA? Then you bring in a new business leader?
That's possible. Yeah.
Yes, and another possibility is this thing gets sold here in a while.
Mhm.
That
So,
too. I would not. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
would not dismiss
Absolutely.
that possibility.
Yeah.
We got chaos here. Phil, nice talking to you for a
You too.
while.
All right, boys. Patrick,
See
we'll
ya.
talk to you later. Dukes, we'll hit you up again for a flagrant to talk some Giannis speculation as well. Thanks, guys.
Sounds good, boys.
All right, see you, Dukes. All right, Joe, we'll keep it here just to kind of put a bow on this. Yeah, I had heard sometime in the last several months, and reliably, I will say that the relationship between, I don't think it got toxic between Falvey and Levine, but that the longer things kind of went on, and it became obvious from a public standpoint, like Thad was front and center with media and fans the first few years. It was Falvine, right? It was like they're operating as one. And then you basically never saw Thad do interviews. He really moved into the shadows, kind of in the back of the organization. And I had heard that he was even told that it needs to be Falvey's vision, Falvey's voice, and so don't need Thad to be meeting with the business executives without Falvey. Don't need Thad to be meeting with Rocco Baldelli without Falvey. That Falvey was really, really adamant about it being, and hey, he ultimately became the most powerful man in the organization.
Right.
But that Thad's fingerprints on the organization were either no longer wanted or no longer maybe fit exactly with what Falvey saw for Twins baseball.
It might also not be an accident that two of the smarter guys in the franchise who left in the past couple of years left when they did.
Yeah.
Like Thad would be a great guy to bring back, and guess what? If he's brought back now, his hands are clean. Like if he had stayed as a flunky, right? It's like, oh, you're promoting a flunky. Well, now he's been gone. People liked him. I'm seeing a lot of comments here, Phil, that this is nothing more than a cost-saving move. And I will say this: if this is true, if that is true, and look, Derek Falvey was paid handsomely. This is a move I agree with completely. I don't care why they did it. Like the timing is weird. That's fine. But if this is to make if this is to put Tom Pohlad as president of business ops for now, and you find a new baseball guy or whatever you do baseball wise, all right, with where this team is, if this is being stripped out because, quite frankly, it probably makes the team more attractive to sell, this is one I don't mind. Because I've been saying since last year, I thought that Derek Falvey deserved to be gone. And so let's say they're saving, I don't know, $2 million or something like that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is. In this case, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I think it's the right move. And I think also what you've done is you've now distanced yourself from everyone who is seen as the biggest culprits in, as you put it, one of the great downfalls of a team in this state.
Yeah.
So,
I just talking to some people around that work in baseball ops, because I just, for the background, stick to football, Mackey. For people that are maybe new to the show, I used to be a Twins beat writer and cover the Twins, and was around a lot of Major League Baseball people for years and years earlier in my career, and there's still some connections that I can once in a while like tap into. And there was a National League executive that texted a friend of mine who has worked for a couple different baseball ops departments, and once Falvey got that promotion to oversee business ops and baseball ops, there was some buzz around. Like, there was an executive from the National League that texted, like, what does he have on ownership? How is he like getting a promotion through all of this? It doesn't make any sense. And I think if Thad were to become an option, and he's a senior advisor now to the Brewers, so like obviously if a high level baseball ops job opened up, he could jump. And he still lives, I think, in the Twin Cities.
Yep.
Thad is a very respected baseball executive around the league, business and also the baseball side. He's very well respected around the Twin Cities. I can confirm that Thad Levine is like helping advise other businesses that have nothing to do with sports, even around the Twin Cities and Midwest. And I think Derek is viewed in baseball as like a pretty good guy, but he's not regarded on that upper echelon of leaders, and certainly not a guy that should have had full control over every wing of a Major League Baseball organization. And we've obviously been super critical of him over the last 3 or 4 years. Early on, it was a breath of fresh air back in like 2017 through 2019-20, and they were winning a lot more games during that period too. He came in and modernized an organization that had fallen a decade behind the times. They did not have an analytics department. They did not have a lot of the scouting and measurement tools that other organizations did. And Falvey and Thad Levine brought a lot of those things to the Twins, and they were kind of on the forefront there for a period, and maybe kind of still are in some areas. But it always kind of felt like Derek was playing the role of a high-level baseball executive more than actually doing it at a high level. He balked at 5 or 6 different trade deadlines, or straight up whiffed on one of them in 2022 when they had a chance to maybe add pieces and win a championship. And he just, he like when it comes to like connecting with some of the important players in the organization and developing and putting a plan in place, he's dropped the ball in that area the last few years too. So, and now, I mean, the job is really hard now because they're telling you, you have way less money to operate with than you did before, and we need you to do it and compete. And maybe that was for his end a way for him to say, yeah, I mean, there's no way I can operate with a $100 million payroll.
And as goofy as this might sound, it all changed when Jim Pohlad stepped aside and put Joe in charge. And then Joe put Derek in charge of everything, which, as we talked about, is like, what are you even thinking about here? So I think if you're a Twins fan, even if they come out in the conference calls and say, this was cost cutting and nothing more, I'm like, okay, that's fine in this case. I'd rather you cut from there than the players, because that's cut by so much. And I do think this is a signal that no matter what, if it's being set up to sell, if it's being set up to try to get people back interested, whatever it is, I do think severing ties with everyone who was involved as the main decision makers is a positive.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that this necessarily means there is a bright horizon on the immediate future for the Twins, because there's just, well, they literally have to hire a new head of baseball and probably business ops. Like they're going to go through this whole transition, and then there's probably going to be a work stoppage, and they're going to have to figure out baseball's economic model. And so but it does. My last thought on this is, in a different way, it does feel similar to the stars that aligned 25 years ago, where the Twins were down in the dumps. Ownership was trying to contract the team and just give it back to Major League Baseball. Nothing like that is happening right now. But 25 years later, another generation of Pohlads, and there's ownership turmoil, and the baseball team is a laughingstock, and no one's going to games, and fans are mocking the Twins. It was, I remember being in high school, and it was like uncool to wear Twin stuff in 1999 and 2000. And I kind of feel like the brand is back to where it was then.
Little Brent Gates for you.
Brent Gates.
Pat Mears jersey.
Yeah, and Scott Stahoviak and all these random guys.
Yep.
And the thing that saved those Twins teams was a group of young players all coming up and kind of almost fighting back against the establishment in some ways. And they got a bunch of young fans hooked back on the team, and they won in spite of the organization and in spite not I would say they won in spite of ownership, not in spite of, like, Terry Ryan did a magnificent job with the limited resources putting together that team, and Ron Gardenhire. And I think that's the big question. Is there a group of young players here that can band together and all click at the same time in the face of all of this? Or is it just going to be a dark year and period for Twins baseball?
Get to know them.
We'll see. Yeah.
Bring it back, baby. Bring it back. Greatest ad campaign, in my opinion, in Minnesota sports.
Yeah. We might have to. Well, I think we already know some of them, but we're gonna have to get to know
the
Kalen
players,
Culpepper here.
the front office, the manager. We don't know any of them.
So that's the big breaking news. Derek Falvey out as the head of baseball operations and business operations for the Minnesota Twins. There's going to be some press conferences here throughout the rest of the day, and we and Declan, who's going to be on those press conferences, will keep an eye on things, but. That's our immediate reaction. Thanks to Doogie, thanks to Reusse and Dex for jumping in here, and all you guys for taking some time out today. All right, Sports Dad. We got more over on. We're going to do a little Giannis discussion on Flagrant Howls. We got Purple Daily rocking. Thor Talks Purple is recording right now too. So it's a big Friday on the Score North podcast, and we'll catch you next time on the Score North Twin Show.